This is a lead meeting here in Port Recovery, and I have the privilege of introducing somebody that I've heard a few different times, but it never gets old to me. He's truly a rock star in this program. I love him unconditionally, and he's just so great, and I just love you so much. Let me give you Gary.
Never been introduced like that before. Rock star?
Yeah.
Rock star!
With a song or what?
Well, I'm Gary, an alcoholic.
Hey, Gary!
I'm sober tonight through the grace of God, through the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Most important of all, because I want to be sober more than I want to be drunk. That's the bottom line. If I wanted to be drunk, I wouldn't be here. You know, I was reading what this gentleman read about faith. I think yesterday was about hope. Somewhere along the line we'll have love in there somewhere. Hope, faith, and love. Three bases of Alcoholics Anonymous. My sobriety day is January 11th, 1973. I don't drink, I don't smoke pot, I don't drink near beer, I don't abuse prescription drugs. I don't do anything that screws me up from here on up. But that's my problem from here on up. Doesn't make any difference if I drink it, snort it, shoot it. If I take it for the wrong reasons, I'll get the same results. Yeah, that's just, I had a good day today. Clock change. And I woke up at 4:45, so it's really 4:45. I read my morning meditation books. I read that every day, not every other day. You know, I live this program one day at a time. I had a friend that said if I would have been an alcoholic, I probably would have been nothing. You know, this program saved my life. You know, I found out it was my life was worth saving. I've been here for a few 24 hours. I've seen people come and go. I've seen people play with this program. I've seen people die here. But I see miracles here. That's what I see in Alcoholics Anonymous. I see miracles. Congratulations, Matt, on your 23 years. Tom, I congratulate you Friday on your 36 years. You know, we just got it one day at a time. I read my cell phone today. I got 19,299 hours. That's what I got. And I got that one day at a time. That's how we get sobriety, just one day at a time. Living outside here had to be worse than living here inside the rooms of AA. You know, as I read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, I found out why I should have been here when I was 17 years of age, because when I drank, something happened to me that don't happen to a normal drinker. But I drank for another 9 years. I drank alcoholic for 9 years. There's no reason why I should be up here. I wasn't abused as a child. I wasn't neglected. I was loved by parents that loved me and supported me, grandparents, niece, nephew, aunts and uncles. I was just brought up a good way of life. But when I drank, something happened to me. And I could almost pinpoint the day when I took that first drink. I heard the guy say, well, you know, we talked about that last drink. But maybe we should talk about that first drink. Well, I remember that first drink. When I was 17 years of age. I was playing intramural basketball. I'd just gotten out of football, so I wasn't on any rules. But we played intramural baskball, and then when we'd go home, go out to my friend's house. He lived out in the country. We'd drink draft beer. And I don't know, when I got home, I didn't remember how I got there. I know I drove home, but I don't remember how I got there. I woke up on my mom and dad's sofa with no clothes on. And I would experience those blackouts for many, 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 many times in my alcoholism. Somebody told me one time the best thing happened to me, us alcoholics, is we had blackouts. Because if I could have remembered everything I did when I was drinking, I'd probably never sober up. You know, so God does for us what we cannot do for ourselves. God just lets you remember certain stuff. And as you stay sober, He will reveal more to you in time. You know, we have a progressive disease and we also have a progressive recovery. And today I stay sober. Just for the day, I never promised anybody that I'll stay sober for the rest of my life. They told me that when I first was in the hospital, when I returned to Alcoholics Anonymous for the second time. Somebody said, don't ever promise anybody that you'll stay sober for the rest of your life. I used to make promises to my parents that I wouldn't drink again, I wouldn't get in trouble. I did the same thing over and over. He told me something else. Whatever you do, don't let anybody chase you away from the rooms of AA. I never forgot that. I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous back in 1971 when I was 24 years of age. I went to my first meeting in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at St. Mary's on Saturday night. It burnt down not too long ago, and then they moved the meeting over to the church down the street from there. And I heard a young man talking about, he was 19 years of age, I think it was, and he talked about the DTs and withdrawals and the gel. I didn't know what the hell the DTs was. But as I got sober, I've been through those 3-4 times until I realized what they was. You know, and that guy told me, you know, I went to sponsor Ron, him and I went in the Marine Corps together in 1965. He sobered up in 1970. He's still sober. He's celebrating 56 years of sobriety. You know, I mean, he took my first meeting in Fort Wayne that night. And he told me something very important. I say this mostly for drug addicts. He said, if you're an alcoholic, he said, you're a drug addict. And so what that talks about, being honest. You know, and so that's what Pop one time in the Marine Corps back in the 60s, if he was on pot or drugs, they kind of frowned on that, so I just drank, you know. Took me to the same place. You know, it's like switching seats on the Titanic. You know, and he told me, don't drink or ass falls off. He said, just stay in today, don't drink today. And so I was running a bar in Coldwater, South Side Inn it is today, but back then it was Village Inn. My dad and my uncle and my grandpa moved it in from Macedon, Ohio. And so I was listening for my dad. And I was picked up by the liquor board for serving minors. And here, again, being an alcoholic, I didn't like any authority. I had parent authority, law authority, military authority, any type of authority, I didn't like it. Because that was about my self-will, you know what I'm saying? And so I did what I did what was natural for me. I drank. That's the only thing I knew how to do. You know, and so I ended up drinking for 15 months. And I thank God for those 15 months. When I remembered, I went through what that DTs that young man talked about. Climbing the walls, hiding under my mom and dad's bed, chasing evergreen in my underwear in the backyard. We lived right across from the park in Coldwater. You know, and you know, hiding in the closet. I could say some other stuff, but I won't say it here. You know, because that fear set in. And my family tried to contact my friend Ron, who lived in Fort Wayne at the time. Ron's originally from St. Anthony, but he was working with a telephone company, and so they contacted the county coroner in Mercer County, which was Dr. Fox. And Dr. Fox set me up an appointment at the Harding Hospital, Harding Sanitarium in Worthington, Ohio, on December 4th, 1972. You know, that's where I ended up after drinking 15 months. I drank like an alcoholic drank. I couldn't tell you sometimes what my name was. I couldn't tell you if the sun was coming up or going down. I couldn't tell you nothing. You know, and the person you see today isn't the same person that came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm going to tell you the truth. A lot of work in staying sober. A lot of work, a lot of meetings, a lot of 12-step work, a lot of doing. You know, That's one thing I learned when I was in that hospital. I knew I had to go back to Alcoholics Anonymous. Because I saw this is the only place I ever found hope. I had been through 4 psychiatrists. When I went in the hospital, that made my 5th psychiatrist. You know, had gone to priest, had been hospitalized a few times, been in a few jails, a lot of car wrecks. I had 14 car wrecks in 5 years. You know, I'd lost everything. When I sobered up, I didn't have nothing. I'll tell you the honest truth, I didn't have a pot to piss in the window to throw it out. I just drank one day at a time. You know, and that's where I ended up. I ended up in that hospital. And that doctor I met on December 4th, he looked at me point blank, and that's what we tell people today. You either want to be sober or you don't want to be sober. You either got to do what you got to do, or you can go out there and test the waters. That's what the doctor told me. I was 26 years of age. I weighed 126 pounds. I was dying from this disease of alcoholism. I did not know that. I lost all communication with my family, with my friends, with myself, and with my God. He told me I would have to do things his way. He said, if you don't want to, he said, you can go back where you came from. He said, you can crawl into that rock. And he said, you can die. And I had no place else to go. And I'll tell you the truth, if I had some place to go, I'd have probably went. But I didn't have any place to go. Because we burned bridges. At least I did. I burnt bridges. You know, my dad said point blank, he said, you either stay here and do something about your problem. He said, next time be the Toledo State Hospital. Back in the 70s, the Toledo State Hospital wasn't too good of a place. And I knew my dad meant it. If he said something, he meant it. And so I told him I would try for 30 days. If things didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, I was going to go back home. You guys get off my back. I'm going to live my life the way I wanted to. Well, they put me in this hospital. They locked the doors. They took everything away from me so I couldn't injure myself. This wasn't an alcoholic hospital. It was more for people that had problems with alcohol, drugs, and mental breakdowns and all that stuff, you know. You know, and I spent 1 month in that open door, or that locked cottage, and this was a Seventh-day Adventist hospital. So they didn't serve meat. They just served soybean supplement. I mean, I weighed 126 pounds. The first month I was there, I gained 40 pounds. Because when I drank, I didn't drink. The only thing I ate when I was drinking was chicken noodle soup. That's it. Chicken noodle soup and booze. I was a whiskey drinker. I started off as a beer drinker, but eventually I graduated to liquor, and then eventually I graduated to wine and anything that ran downhill. You know, and that was the beginning. You know, I went to, a few of us went to Hartford City last night. It was a lead meeting there, and a young lady gave a lead. She was probably 40 years old. Nice lead, nice looking girl, young, you know, been sober 2 years, been around the program, but today she's in the program. I said there's a difference between being around the AA and being in the program. She was in the program. She gave an amazing lead. You know. And you know, that's what I did. I stayed in AA long enough to find that. You got to stay here long enough to find it. Because when I got here, I was lost. And this meeting right here, we started this meeting. About 4 or 5 guys started this meeting right here. Not here, but it's in the city building when it used to be down there. And what we did, we put $5 in a pot. That's how we started this Fort Recovery meeting. And it's been going on for over 50 years. That's how it works. You know. And you know, I stayed in this locked cottage. I was moved over, and you know, God puts people in our lives. And He put my sponsor Ron in my life, and there was a little lady. Her name was Kitty Lippman. She was from Toledo, Ohio. She wasn't an alcoholic, but she had a nervous breakdown. And she could have been my grandmother. Yeah. So sweet and, loving person. And we would sit hours on end and sit and talk about alcoholism, what alcoholism did to me, because she didn't know what it was, but she listened. Sometimes that is the best thing we can do to a person is to listen to them. One night she looked at me and she said, Gary, she said, you're too good of a person to die an alcoholic death. And for the first time in my life, I saw some light at the end of that tunnel. I spent 4 months in that hospital. I weighed 170 pounds when I got out. I got out on March 15, 1973. The doctor looked at me and said, I don't know where you'd been at if you wouldn't have came in when you did. And there's things I learned in AA that stayed sober. When I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, when you gave a lead with a suit and a tie. That's how you gave leads. Didn't give leads like it is tonight. I'll never forget, there used to be a meeting, the St. Mark's meeting on Thursday night in Worthington, and the last Thursday of the month was lead meeting, and there was an elderly gentleman that gave a lead. I would say he was in his 70 years old. He had gray hair, wasn't the hair out of place. He had a green sports jacket on, a white tie, and a green tie. And that guy looked on the outside like I wanted to feel on the inside. That is the promotion or an attraction that they talk about in Alcoholics Anonymous. I saw something that he had, and I wanted that. My sobriety day is January 11th, 1973. I made runs home from the hospital. My parents would pick me up and take me back. And me and my dad had a very shaky relationship. When I first got here, I said 95% of the problem with my dad was my dad. I tell you, 95% of the problem with my dad was me. Because I was a drunk. I was a town drunk, a little town of Coldwater, 3,000 people, 9 bars. I was a town drunk. And I didn't find that out until the guy I sponsored told me what his father-in-law said about me. Town drunk at 26 years of age. And I took my parents through that stuff, that total disbelief. There's a son, 26 years old, drinking himself in a little town in Coldwater. I didn't think about what I was taking my parents through. Didn't think about it one damn bit. But I took a swig me and my dad got in a heated discussion. I reached in the refrigerator, flipped the cap off of a strode bottle of beer, and I took a swig out. My dad said, Gary, he said, don't start something you cannot finish. He might have said that 100 times before, but that time I heard it. That time I heard it, and that was my last drink as of right now. We're surrounded by a bunch of miracles here. We all have a different story. But we all got the same problem. Alcoholism. That Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, they talk about the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When I picked that drink up, I didn't know when it was going to stop. I used to work in the garbage route when I was just out of the Marine Corps. Tom Jr. and 4 of us. And all four of us had drinking problems. And I was the youngest one. And they're all dead today. One got killed in Montezuma. He got shot to death in Montezuma back in the 70s, 60s, late 60s. Another friend died from this disease. Another one stopped drinking and died not drinking. So, I was surrounded by a lot of people who drank like I drank. Those are the people who drank with. I didn't want to drink with somebody who only drank one beer and went home. I drank with people who wanted to get drunk like I wanted to get drunk. I didn't know it at that time. You know, if somebody told me when I was 17 years of age I had a drinking problem, I'd have told them to go to hell. But I was just drinking like everybody else. But I wasn't drinking like everybody else. You know, when we started that business, I mean, everybody's getting back from Vietnam and before they got married, before they got their houses and all that stuff, played in softball team, you know, they had a hell of a business. Hell of a business. I drank myself out of that. You know. Had a lot of opportunities in my sober. We talked about that in Athletics Anonymous. We have opportunities, we drunks do. Had an opportunity when I played football. I had a small chance for a small college scholarship at Ashland College before it came to university. You know, and I remember the coach came up and asked me if I wanted it. I said, no, I don't want it. I had already started drinking, see. You know, had an opportunity in the bar business, went in the Marine Corps. Ron and I did, and now 15 months of grade, I was promoted to sergeant. You know, and I was a good Marine until I got paid. When I got paid, then I went out and I bought whiskey. I had to go to pawn shops, and you know, my disease followed me. And I found that out about Alcoholics Anonymous. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Every day I wake up with my disease. And my disease wants me dead. It's as simple as that. You know, and there's a thing in the 24-hour book, January 6th, that says the greatest day of my life is when I gave up drinking. I don't want to ever forget that for one moment. Because if I forget it, I'm in trouble. You know. And when I got out of the hospital, the hand of A was there. You know, and I started going to meetings. It's not meetings like it is today. So we had 4 meetings in 4 counties. We had to travel 30 miles to go to a meeting, like maybe St. Mary's the closest meeting, you know, and then Union City, and they had one in Greenville, and they had one in Sydney, and, you know, Salina had just gotten started in 72. You know, but we went to meetings, you know. But that's what that hope was. In Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, I had no trouble that first step. I knew I was an alcoholic. I had a hard time saying it when I first got sober. You know, we used to go to a meeting in Union City on Saturday night, and they would say, go around and introduce yourself. Well, I'm an alcoholic. So I said it, that's what I was supposed to do. And I did that probably for 3-4 months, whatever it was. And one day I said it. I knew it, and I meant it. See, I knew what I was. You know, and that's where it began. You know, we didn't have, you know, I didn't work the steps like, you know, we got step meetings today. You know what I'm saying? I just went to meetings. That's the only thing I knew about alcohol. Just go to meetings, help another drunk. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was supposed to do. So I did that, you know, and always had a sponsor. Ron was my sponsor, and Bob Kay was my sponsor. He'd been in out of AA for 20 years. Died from this disease. Stepped that gurney in the VA hospital in San Diego. One of the nicest guys I ever met in my life. Nicest guy, but when he got drunk, I didn't want to be around him. Didn't want to be around him. You know, he's married to an alcoholic. He had a daughter, you know. She was in the program. She died, and he had a daughter. They moved out to Arizona, and he came down for about a week before a week of August. I don't know. He died in August the 29th, 1995 is when he died. And he had a brother who was a funeral director out in California, and Jay Hogenkamp got me his telephone number, so I called Jim up, and then he told me that Bob had passed away. He told me, he said, I don't think Bob was ever in recovery. You know, and I thought when I hung up with that guy, I thought, what a waste. what a waste. He was just one hell of a guy. When I met him, he was 36 years old. He looked like he was 25. Been in prisons a few times, been in net wards, originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Yep. So we have teachers in AA. We got teachers that make it, we got teachers that don't make it. And I want to be with the people that make it. I made it today so far. You know, I love Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, AA hasn't changed a bit. People's changed. People's changed. Alcoholics Anonymous hasn't changed a bit. It's just one drunk helping another drunk. It's using our defects of character and our shortcomings to help other people through their shortcomings and defects. You know, they tell you as you go to AA meetings, the shortcomings and defects are all the same. You know, what is a defect of character, shortcomings? Anything that keeps me from the sunlight of the Spirit. When I got sober, I got a conscience. I know what's right, I know what's wrong. I know what I got to do, and I know what I can't do. You know, and you know, for me, I took it to the full envelope. That's the isms. You know, we talk about people going to counseling. I mean, there's outside problems besides alcoholism, but the isms. That's my problem. I, self, and me. I went to outside counseling when I had 5 years of sobriety up through my advice from my sponsor, and that guy told me exactly what they told me in AA. Exactly the same thing they told me in Alcoholics Anonymous. But I had it here face to face with one guy. You know, I was looking for a fairer world and found out there's no such thing. I was looking for perfect parents and there's no such thing, because I wasn't a perfect son. Brought up and raised Catholic all my life. You know, yeah, it screwed me up. Screwed me up. Because I'm an alcoholic. Because I think I read someplace that an alcoholic is more spiritual than normal people. I don't know why I thought everything I did in the church had to be perfect. That's what my mindset was at. It had to be perfect. You know, that's not the way it is. That wasn't the way it was, but that's the way I perceived it. See? My thinking. That's what it, you know. And it took me a long time to figure that out. You know, my perception was so screwed up. You know, that second step, I was totally nuts when I drank. You know, third step came to live the part of ourselves to restore. No, the third step made the decision to turn the will and life over to the care of the God of my understanding. Always believed in some type of God, but I lost God through my drinking. I just walked away. I was more or less agnostic. And it took me a long time to get that back, because I found out what God's will is. What is God's will? That's one thing I did not know, even through my church and through the AA and spiritual. I did not know. God's will is anything that is good. That's pretty damn simple, ain't it? But me as an alcoholic, I screwed that up for so many years. So many years. Looking for that magical answer. What is God? Anything that is good. It's my God. I call him God, that's what it's brought up. You can call it anything that you want as long as it's greater than what you are. You know. This is amazing program, Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, every day I wake up, I be reading my meditation book, Jesus Calling 24-hour book, the Reflections. I read the Bible. I read the Upper Room. That's a Methodist book, but like Aubrey used to tell me, I don't care if you read the comic book, as long as you're staying sober. Keep it simple. Don't complicate it. Like Jerry always said, we can complicate a grape. And we do. I'm talking about me. I complicate it so damn much, it's unbelievable. And luckily I survived it. Luckily I survived it. But my sponsor told me to say, you don't drink, your ass falls off. You know. I don't know, just because we sober up don't mean that everything's going to go smooth, you know. I had some health problems. Back in '99, thought I had cancer, and got through that. And I got operated on December 4th, 1986. And I told God, get me through this, I'll quit smoking. So I was smoking 3-pack a day. Back in '96, same day, 14 years after I went in for alcoholism, I gave up smoking cigarettes. I haven't had a cigarette since. You know, 99, I had open heart surgery, had a tumor in my heart. I told my doctor, I said, I don't drink and smoke. He looked at me, he said, you've been drinking and smoking. He said, you've been dead. Just like that. If you've been drinking and smoking, he said, you've been dead. You know, lost a job, 26 years of insubordination. You know, I was told I was going to work 3 more years for my retirement. I didn't have no pension, you know. Worked 2 jobs for 26 years. Ran a mail route for 26 years. I worked for the senior center. And, you know, I'm saying that today, you know, I don't have no pension, but, you know, I bought my dad's house with 2 rentals. That gives me a little income. All of a sudden, I thought of that today. A little extra income. I got Social Security. Heard a friend say one time, I got enough money to last me the rest of my life if I should die today. You know, I've never been a money man. The only time I had problems with money is when I didn't have it. And I never thought too much of money. I was saying the other day at a meeting in St. Mary's, Tuesday night meeting, a lady knew the pastor, Elvis Presley. And this pastor was telling this lady that Elvis was the loneliest guy in the world. Had all that money, had all the women, all the mansions, everything, but he was lonely. And us being alcoholics, we know what loneliness is, don't we? I've been surrounded by a lot of people, but I was always alone. You know, I'm not alone today. I lived alone. I lived alone probably for 45 years. I mean, I've had people live with me on and off, but I lived alone for 45 years. Today, I'm not lonely. I got a thing that I believe is a blessing for me is a word called solitude. I can pull off this side and just me and my God and my understanding, I can have a relationship with Him. You know, and I thank God for that. You know, I don't know if I live till May I'll be 80 years old. Well, that just shakes the hell out of me. Because I never wanted to be 80 years old. Okay, I'm sure.
60's halfway through.
When I got here, I didn't want to be 80 years old. Today, if I make it one day at a time, that would be another miracle in my life. Yeah. So we are miracles. If you're here today and you got a drinking problem, I don't care if it's your first day, if it's 23rd day, or the 23 years, or 36 years. All we have is today. It's what I did today, not what I did yesterday. It's what I did today. You know, I am blessed. Really, I'm a blessed human being. You know, I was both my grandparents died. I was sober when both my parents died. I was sober when my brother died. You know, my dad died on July 17, 1995, and I'll tell you where I was at that day. I was at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in Van Wert. Because I knew where I belonged. I belonged on the tables of AA. You know, somebody said, you've been sober all those years, why do you go to all those meetings? I said, I go to meetings because you know what, when I leave here, I feel better about me. That's what it's about, feeling better about me. You know, because when I got here, it wasn't okay to be me. It wasn't. Because I didn't like me. I always tell we will love you until you can learn to love yourself. How true that is. You know. I was sober 22 years, I got into the Bible. And I read the Bible every day. And I got into it. And this is a miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous. We had a gentleman, Aubrey, and Kevin knew him. But he was an atheist for 8 years in recovery. And he found God and Jesus Christ. And we started a Bible study out of his place. And he's the only one I would go to the Bible study. You know, I'm in a Bible study today, but I'm in a Bible study with people that are in recovery. Not with people that are in other religions. I'm in a Bible with people that are in recovery. Because we talk the same lingo. You know. And when that guy died at 46 years of sobriety, he was one of the most religious men I ever met in my life. He was. He opened his house to people like us. Him and Mildred. That's what I saw in the AA. I saw that love in AA. We'll be closing. I met a guy who's Ray Hainline. He was in Maumee, Ohio. And he would come down, and Slide had just started. He came down and gave Lee the Slide meeting on Wednesday night. And he died. His sobriety date was January the 1st, 1946. And when he died, I think he died in 74. And he told me two things that you got to remember in AA. When he asked you to do something Alcoholics Anonymous, he said, you do it. Whatever you do, he said, don't be judgmental of people in AA, because he said you don't know how sick they got. I never forgot that. 2 words of recovery, love and service. That's what it's about. You know, and I don't know why this damn table's moving on me. Surprised the thing didn't go off. That pisses me off, that crooked. That's like sitting on a crooked bar stool. Well, that's all I got to say. Joni, thank you. I didn't forget you. Thought I did, didn't you?
No, never. I just changed the date 8 times on here, so
I wrote it down.
maybe I better check.
I've been doing this for a long time. There's only one person I've ever forgot. It was Hugh Sherman. He asked me to give a lead in Sydney one night and I forgot about it. Yeah. So I want to thank Joni for asking me. I want to thank you for being here and congratulating all you guys get your token. Just keep coming back. Don't give up 15 minutes before the miracle. That's all.
All right, Juan Jennifer, grateful recovering alcoholic. Gary, I just want to say thank you for being here tonight and giving your lead. When I pulled up and I seen you in front of us and Joey let me know that it was you, I just called it right on the money. I was like, I bet you Gary's giving his lead tonight. But anyways, you know, the last thing that you said about Alcoholics Anonymous, when you're asked to do something in this program, you do it. And so, you know, Joni approached me tonight and said, will you share this meeting this month? And I was hesitant, you know, because it's been a while. But I was like, yep, you got it. So that's just a prime example of that. You just do whatever it takes. To be honest, it keeps me sober anyways. You know, it gives me something to do and something to look forward to. And it keeps me dedicated to coming again on Sundays because, you know, I used to come here every Sunday. So kudos to you for bringing me back. But anyways, Gary, you know, I was in and out of this program for many years. you know, and you've told me on numerous accounts that, you know, you remember that, you know, seeing me come and stuff like that, and you're just a huge inspiration to me, you know. I didn't really have the opportunity to get to know you the level that I do today because I didn't have clarity, and I wasn't ready to change back then. But today, I've been sober over 3 years, and you know, every meeting that I have with you, you know, I take everything you say to heed, and I will always remember when I drove to Lipstick, you know, and even got Chrissy to go with me because I was just going to go by myself. And I just will never forget when they had everybody stand up for their years of sobriety, and you made it almost all the way to the end, you know, on your count. And I was just so proud of that. Like, I just thought it was so phenomenal, and I'm grateful that I was able to be there for that. But, yeah, you're just a huge inspiration to me. We go back, actually, since I've been sober and gotten to know Gary a little bit better this time, you know, we go way back to where he said that, you know, he used to drink coffee at the Club Cafe where my mom used to work for many years when, you know, I was growing up in that alcoholic environment. So, you know, I never knew that until he told me that. So we go back a lot farther, you know, than I knew. So I just love you, and I'm grateful for everything that you stand for, and you're just the truth in this program. You know, you set out every day to accomplish what this program is about, and that is to help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. You go above and beyond for people. You know, even when they're not ready, you still are never hesitant to put out your hand. And you're just a blessing to so many, Gary, and I just love you unconditionally. And with that, I'm going to open the floor with anybody else that's got any comments.
I'm Andrew, recovering alcoholic.
Andrew!
Thank you for sharing with this period. And I remember when I came in, I don't know, I think you might have had 11 or 12 years then, but I thought it was impossible for a person to stay sober that long. It works. All we gotta do is work. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew.
Joey alcoholic.
Good.
So, yeah, I can say a lot, but I'll keep it short. But you're living proof. I mean, your proof's in the pudding. That's what you say. You know, and it's only one day at a time. You know, I took it to the extreme and was just took it too far and said, "Dang, I got to quit the rest of my life." That was my first mistake. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, but you just are living proof, you know, and it works. But you have to work it. You know, I have to work it. I can't let nobody else work it for me. You know, and being involved in service work is a big key to me. Chairing meetings, setting up, whatever it takes, because I have a job to do, and that's what keeps me sober. You know, so Gary, I love you. You're a good man, and thank you for everything. You're welcome.
Thank you, Joey.
Chad, recovering addict.
Yeah.
Gary, I'm honored to meet you and know you, and I hope one day to achieve your level of sobriety and, you know, your number of years of sobriety. And I'm going to work the program just as you say. And yeah, I'm sure just like everybody else in this room, honored to have met you and know you, man. And you're an inspiration to not just me, I'm sure everybody else in this room. So great lead, and I'm going to work it just like you said. So thanks.
Thanks, Jess.
I'm Matt, I'm an open I didn't know you were speaking tonight, but I'm glad I dropped in and got to hear your story. I've heard you before, but tonight was a lot more complete. Heard a lot more about Gary and that cunning, baffling, powerful disease and how it works on our thought process. So we think we're going toward freedom, and we actually put ourselves in bondage to something that we think is our friend. I heard a lot of good stuff tonight. You're a lot smarter than me. You came in younger than I did. I drank another 15 years after you came in. But, you know, they say we all have to have every drink we have to have before we come in this program. And I'm glad I made it in. And, thanks for giving your lead. I got a lot
appreciated, being a friend, you taught me over the last year and a little bit more, but I remember, I know I taught you something. Not to, you know not where to look for a wife. So put that out.
Thanks, Al.
Sal?
I'm Jim, I'm not calling.
Hi,
Jim.
Thanks, Gary. I've always said about it, that every time I listen to you speak, I wouldn't be able to write fast enough to take notes on the things that I learned from you when you speak, so I learned a million lessons from you for the years. I'm grateful for every one of them. Thanks for being my friend.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Joni, I'm an alcoholic.
Joni.
I just can't say enough that just being here in these rooms when I came through those doors and listening to what you had to say, and you know, you don't take any bullshit and you tell it like it is, and it is what it is. This is life or death. You either want to live today or you don't, and you just cut to the chase, and I just love you for that. And in the beginning, I was a little touchy. Oh God, ouch, because every feeling, and you know, I was like, he's kind of hardcore. Lighten up, dude. Just lighten up a little bit, you know. And I don't know, we went to Pizza Hut together shortly after I was in the program, and there was a group of us, and you started giggling. I thought, he's just another kid. He can write. You know, I just saw this, but yeah, and to hear the truth just sometimes hurts. But you keep hearing it, and you keep saying it, and you watch somebody live it, and it's like, maybe that's what I want too. So I appreciate your friendship, and I love you, and I'm gonna pass with that. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Kevin, I'm an alcoholic. And, thanks, Gary, that was a good lead, and, well, I tell you, I've never heard a bad lead from you, and I've probably heard you 100 times. You know, that sounds like a lot, but when you start counting, I probably heard you 100 times. And, and I always remember back when I got sober. I know you because I've been in and out of this program for quite a while before I got sober. But when I got sober, I knew you. And that Friday night after I got out of the treatment place, I came on Friday night, and I knew you'd be there, and you were the person that I asked. I said, help me. I says, I need to get sober. And you've been there for me ever since, you know. We went to a lot of meetings together and done a lot of things, you know. And I'm just very, very grateful to have you as a friend in Alcoholics Anonymous because, you know, I don't know if I'd be where I'm at if it wasn't for people like you in these rooms. And another thing that you mentioned, and I don't hear this very often because there's not many of us around that knew them, but Aubrey and Mildred, those times there were some of the greatest and the best times that I've had through sobriety. And, you know, it's just pretty amazing. And, you know, I drove out by there back in the summer sometime. And something that, I think it's okay, but it was just a little bit uneasy for me. They cut the woods down. You can see the house from the road. And you know, one of the things that was so great about that is that it was nestled back in there, so far back into the woods. And you know, Aubrey and Mildred don't live there now, and somebody else does. So I had to accept it, and that's just the way it is. But thanks for a good lead.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Diana, I think you wanted to say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. That's okay. My name's Diana, I'm an alcoholic. My dad's, well, he's been dead for over 7 years, but his sobriety date was January 28, 1984. And, I got married in '85 and I moved to Atlanta. And he asked all of us kids to go to adult children of alcoholics meetings. I think I was the only kid that was happy for him. Everyone else was embarrassed, and I was pissed because it was our dad. And if he wanted to do what he wanted to do, you gotta let him. Well, do you think he drinks as much as we do? I go, not near as much as you do. That's what I would say. But when I went to a grandchild of alcoholics meetings in Atlanta, these people didn't have one drink, but they felt just like alcoholics did. And then I thought, then I was going to go to marriage counseling. And of course, my husband didn't come home that night because he got picked up. But I went to my meeting anyway, and he said, you should go to Al-Anon, because I only told him my husband drank. And I looked up meetings and, kept making sure I was going to the right place. So sure as hell, I ended up in an AA meeting. And this guy said, well, if you're looking for an Al-Anon meeting, it's right down the hall. I go, I think I'm right where I belong. And when I moved home, I went with Dad. I still drank, but I said I'd support him, so I quit drinking for 3 weeks. And it's the first time I met Gary. Well, I didn't really meet him, but I remember after the meeting saying, if we're all going to end up like that Gary guy, I don't think I like this group. But it didn't take long until I got to know Gary. And the fact that you hear things and they mean something to you because of some experience you had, a year later that same thing might mean something else to you. And, hearing people same people give leads over and over, we don't really have to take notes because, we hear stuff over and over and we need to be reminded of stuff. It's like it didn't really slip our mind, but it just didn't enter our mind. And I think my God lets me remember, oh yeah, I need to keep that in mind. Or maybe he told me that maybe he put that in my mind that day because I needed it that day. And I always considered myself a pretty happy person, but I don't think I was ever really happy until I joined AA and really admitted to myself that I was an alcoholic. Part of me wondered if it was because I had something in common with my dad, but mostly because everybody around here told a story I thought I was the only one in the world that did it, And God, does that ever make you feel like you belong somewhere? Thank you for being my friend for so many years, because I think that was in 1990. And I went to treatment in 92, so I worked at a bar when I quit for 3 weeks. I felt so good for this 3 weeks. I don't know why I kept going back. I think because we could drink free at the bar. But anyway, nonetheless, thank you very much, Gary. It was a great message.
Thanks, Ike.
Anybody else? All right, I guess we can go ahead and close this meeting in the back, circle up at the Lord's Prayer. Gary, you want to do the honors taking us out tonight?
Yes, Father.
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and power, and glory forever. Amen. Keep your back.
Works and work it won't if you don't. Have a good night. Thank you.
Way,
Huh? Right there. Been here enough time.
Oh my God, I was just relating to you, I'm not disappointed in you. Look at me. Yeah, she goes, Mary, I did it. She goes, I don't know why I do that. She goes, I go, well, I go, because that's your, it's your beer, I don't, you know. I just want you to know I'm always here for you and I love you. Yeah.
I like your sweatshirt, that's nice, Jennifer.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna sure get that set up for you, Johnny, here. I'll do that too.
I got a couple things going on with the ground, saving it for you. Didn't let Andrew come over here and try and take it. Tom, I was just saving it. Oh.
Okay.
Hi, Fred. Hi, Joey.
Hi, Joey.
Hey, Andrew, how you doing, Wes? Hey. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good.
Hi, Fred. I'm great. How are you?
Feel better, Diane?
Yes.
How you been doing forever since then?
We have.
See ya.
Good. How are you?
There's Joe. How we doing?
Hey, guys.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, how are you doing? Hey, Fred, how you doing?
There's stuff back there.
Yeah, I know.
All kind of stuff.
Heard from Misty, all right? I heard from her a couple weeks ago. I heard from Ryan on Thursday that Mom's doing what she's trying to do.
All kind of stuff.
Chair.
Yeah.
Want to sit here?
How you doing, Dave?
Better.
Rough week, Dave.
This one goes there. I feel like very much in love. All right.
So, are you happy? Yeah. I don't know what it is about it.
Just,
Well, it didn't agree with her.
those guys are like,
Wow, I do appreciate that.
Yeah, that.
I think it'd be worth it. I mean, it's like, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know, I'll ask.
I guess I'm a good candidate for this fire thing. Because they help me with transmitting, but it's
Yes,
like,
and I'm going to get them, yes, I just, the ones that I
correct
just.
my sleep apnea.
It's like my regular.
I didn't know it, but apparently I got horrible sleep
For
apnea.
now, is my multivitamin until I can get something better, but I cannot do those after now. And they're the only ones I can seem to find, so.
Are you gonna be good?
Johnny's been sick for years.
Yeah, no, I'm coming back. He's fine, he's just been, I just was.
Are you sitting by yourself?
I will let you know. Oh, no, I'm
The
okay.
study on
Yeah.
it, she said, you have severe.
I am.
Yeah.
Tracy has that, she wears them.
I thought that car here, right?
I thought I would use it until I seen the jalapenos, but I'm yucking up.
Do you know who I am?
I don't like hot.
Wow.
I met you
Oh
in
my God.
92.
I went to a dance in Dayton one time.
I know.
Well, good.
I remember
It is semi-school.
because I'm older than you. How are you doing? My message on you?
Yes.
Good.
I took something,
Good.
put my
Yeah,
twist.
my cousin Alex is doing okay. It's just, my family's just, there's one out here.
It's hard to be good with him. I have a friend.
So what do I have? I have chronic fatigue syndrome, insomnia,
Hey Fred.
I've had back pain.
Your Facebook page the other day said you got married the other day.
They prescribed it to me and first time it, well, just to get started, called it. I took one hit and it went straight in my head. The first thing I
Oh,
thought,
was that?
I need a beer to get rid of this
Oh,
feeling.
she
I
came
couldn't
out.
stand it.
I thought you were out. She was out.
It doesn't, I don't know why.
Well, there you go.
People love it and it
That's
makes
awesome.
them. I have ADHD. Fuck, dude.
Who's saying?
Besides that, you know, there's nothing that makes money off of.
Chris.
I mean, not gonna smoke it, and I want to.
That went good.
Good.
We're gonna get together and get it working good.
Good.
Huh?
Yeah, this is what's weird, I thought I lived there less than a year. My parents are the place I lived the longest, I'm here for the second, I mean, that apartment's the second place I lived, second longest in my life. Well, nobody takes, not really. Not really. No, I just stayed out there, you know.
Sitting with Ted, he answered me. I
I haven't seen
him.
$3 yet.
I do too, but.
We'll see.
Keep on it after a while.
Just gotta take baby steps.
And I have my sister and brother that live in Georgia.
Working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I love all.
We want to Nashville, Tennessee, I think it's to let them,
I was the first thing I tried here.
so we don't oppose, but.
I was thinking, great idea, you know what? Mama came to me, and you said you had to see what twelve bill on her head.
I used to go.
I said, oh, I'll take it Saturday.
Yeah, I think
She was actually.
there's the last guy.
That's Christ, she's Christ.
Well, I have, but that's not the
It
point. People
was just.
also. She brought a little water. I last, but it's a fun.
We had a 2-bedroom house.
But I haven't seen him in years, but he has turned my family, and me, my dog looked at me. Oh, yeah. He has their own, their own. Read up. Read up on it. If you call him on it,
Hello.
Oh, you wanna do it?
Oh, yeah, we're like.
Don't, you are rock star. Thank
God
you.
takes care of me.
For the last.
Hi, Matt. How you doing?
You know how you actually look like you look like you lost weight.
I start right here with you guys. I did push it.
I've been thinking about it. Every time I do it, it's losing out. Kind of ridiculous.
No, she had. I'll read the book. I'll read the book. Look at it. No, she hasn't talked to him in 2 years. Robert, well. Hey, man. She had talked.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for the pizza.
Ruby, you wanna read this?
She had talked to him a little bit.
I was talking, get a little something right
And she's
there.
still. I'm trying. Well,
I said, I want it all back, all of it. It's getting better.
I didn't push, but see, my son should have been in AA also. And he knows it, because he took AA. He did
all by themselves.
wanted his bachelor's degree in psychology. He had to attend AA,
Who, where?
but he doesn't want to. Because it was back, so. But he didn't attend the meetings for him, he did it for school.
Yeah.
But he was civil for 4 years. So, a lot of our discussion was, he was more of an AA meeting
What's going on?
We got our speaker.
Oh, Jim. Speaker. Come on, get with your job.
Right. On it.
Seven bells. Ding, ding. Yes.
We're gonna open it first.
I just
Oh, the
knew.
secret one.
No, break out my sweater.
Gary. I called that.
Yeah.
I heard everything was done, everything, it's awesome. Happy to hear everything. Like the big stuff.
Welcome, and thank you for choosing Free. If you are the host, press 1. Otherwise, please wait, and you will be joined into the conference.
Figured I'd wait for you, Jeff.
Please announce yourself.
It's a meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Yeah, there we go.
All right, it is that time. I'd like to welcome everybody to the AA for Recovery meeting. My name is Jennifer, and I am a grateful recovering alcoholic. Would everyone join me in the serenity prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Amen. AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I've asked a friend to read how it works.
Joey, I'm an alcoholic.
Joey!
This is how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. They're such unfortunate. They're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They're naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided what we want and what we have and are willing to go any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us had tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was not until we let go. Absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which were suggested as a program of recovery. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7. Humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing 9, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Many of us exclaim, "What in order? I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, that God could.
Thank you, Jimmy. Are you ready to read the promises?
Ruby, I'm alcoholic.
Hello.
We got 1. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. 2, we are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. 3, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. 4, we will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. 5, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. 6, that feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. 7, we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. 8, self-seeking will slip away. 9, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. 10, fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. 11, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. 12, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises?
We think not.
They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Thank you, Ruby. And I've asked my friend Fred to read the daily reflections.
I'm Fred, I'm an alcoholic.
Fred.
October 2nd, the acid test. As we work for the first 9 steps, we prepare ourselves for the adventure of a new life. But when we approach step 10, we commence to put our AA way of life to practical use day by day, in fair weather or foul. Then comes the acid test. Can we stay sober, keep in emotional balance, and live to good purpose under all conditions? 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 88. I know the promises are being fulfilled in my life, but I want to maintain and develop them by the daily application of step 10. I have learned through this step that if I am disturbed, there is something wrong with me. The other person may be wrong too, but I can only deal with my feelings. When I am hurt or upset, I have to continually look for the cause in me, and then I have to admit and correct my mistakes. It isn't easy, but as long as I know I am progressing spiritually, I know that I can mark my effort up as a job well done. I have found that pain is a friend. It lets me know there is something wrong with my emotions. Just as physical pain lets me know there's something wrong with my body. When I take the appropriate action through the 12 steps, the pain gradually goes away.
Thank you, Fred. And I've asked another friend to read 24 hours a day.
All right, November 2nd, thought for the day. Oh, I'm Chris, I'm alcoholic.
Hello, Chris.
I have faith, that thing that makes the world seem bright, that thing that makes sense at last. That awareness of the divine principle in the universe which holds it all together and gives it unity and purpose and goodness and meaning. Life is no longer ashes in my mouth or bitter to the taste. It is all one glorious whole because God is holding it together. Faith that leap into the unknown, to venture into what lies beyond our ken, that which brings untold rewards of peace and serenity. Have I faith? The meditation for the day: keep yourself like an empty vessel for God to fill. Keep pouring out yourself to help others so that God can keep filling you up with His Spirit. The more you give, the more you have for yourself. God will see that you are kept filled as long as you are giving to others. But if you selfishly try to keep all for yourself, you are soon blocked off from God, your source of supply, and you will become stagnant. To be clear, a lake must have an inflow and an outflow. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may keep pouring out what I receive. I pray that I may keep the stream clear and flowing.
Thank you, Chris. And I've asked another friend to read as Bill sees it.
Tony, I'm alcohol.
Hello, Tony.
No personal power. First, the remedy for my personal difficulties seems so obvious that I could not imagine any alcoholic turning the proposition down when properly presented to them. Believing so firmly that Christ can do anything, I had the unconscious conceit to suppose that He would do everything through me right then and in the manner I chose. After 6 long months, I had to admit that not a soul had surely laid hold of the Master, not excepting myself. This brought me to the good, healthy realization that there were plenty of situations left in the world over which I had no personal power. That if I was so ready to admit that to be the case with alcohol, so I must make the same admission with respect to much else. I would have to be still and know that He, not I, was God.
Amen. Thank you, Tony. Just a little friendly reminder to those on the phone. Could you please make sure that your end is muted? I've asked my friend Kevin to give out tokens.
Kevin, I'm alcoholic. And for recovery group here, we have a token system. We give out tokens for different lengths of sobriety. First token we have is 24-hour token. Does anybody need a 24-hour token? This is your first meeting since your last drink. Okay. Then we have monthly tokens, 1 month up through 11 months. Anybody need a monthly token? Okay, then we do have a 1-year token. And then I think we have an 18-month token. And then we have yearly tokens from 2 years up to a long time. We got a lot of tokens there.
Long time.
Anybody need a token tonight?
23.
All right. Well, I don't know.
Don't know this year, the token lady had pneumonia for a few weeks.
If you don't have it, it's okay. I'll take the applause. You know, there's a saying that the person gets the token, but the group gets the time. Because the group we all keep each other sober, so.
Amen.
It's okay if you want.
Okay, so let me look here for a minute.
Maybe you can give me 2 10s and a 3.
I got some Scotch tape we can find.
There you go. Improvise.
You have to weld it.
That's okay, we're holding up the meeting.
I think we're up over.
That's right now. That's
Oh, this is 23 right here.
Look at there.
All right.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
for the cake. Wes had to wait 2 weeks, he finally got it.
I don't know, Dave. That's a cake tonight, it's
So,
really good.
okay, does anybody have any length of sobriety they'd like to have recognized today?
Oh, I'm Tom Ungalike.
Hi, Tom.
On the 30th of October, I celebrated 36 years sobriety.
Well, we all got today, that's a good.
Amen. Thank you, Kevin.
Did you get a point on the?
Oh, I got one, Gary gave one.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, so, yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, so if there is anybody that needs any kind of literature, you can get with somebody after the meeting, and we can get that for you. I'm going to go ahead and pass around the 7th Tradition basket. This just helps us pay our own way for coffee and things like that. Are there any announcements from the floor? Because I have none. No? All right, we'll go ahead and go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Jennifer, recovering alcoholic.
My name's Diane, and I'm an alcoholic.
Jim, I'll call it.
Pam, Jody, I'm an alcoholic.
Kevin,
I'm alcoholic.
My name's Wes, I'm an alcoholic.
I'm an alcoholic, my problem is math.
Are you alcoholic?
I'm Fred, I'm an alcoholic.
Chad.
I'm Jared, alcoholic.
Jared.
Joey alcoholic.
Joey.
You're an alcoholic.
Larry.
And recovering on
Andrew.
Chris, I'm an alcoholic.
Chris.
Tony, I'm an alcoholic.
Tony.
Tom, alcoholic.
Tom. And who do we have on the phone this evening?
Dan. I'm Sharon, recovering alcoholic.
Hey, Sharon.
Sharon.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Dan.
Is it Dan?
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, Dan.
Anybody else on the phone tonight?
I'd like to say something.
Okay, sure.
I'm 17 months sober.
Woo! Who is this? This is Dan.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Dan. All right. With that, that brings us to the point of this meeting tonight.